Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of our Dungeon Boss Hero Spotlight. Today we're taking a look at the man, the myth, the beast, the legend that is Jabber ClenchJaw. Now, Jabberjaw has been a kind of a running joke since the game started. He did get a little bit extra love sort of recently, namely with Solaris and the beast rework in general. So he's a little bit better than he used to be, but as a one-star hero to start out with, you have to expect that his stats are going to be a little bit on the lower side to begin with. There's not really much we can do about that because he is so readily available. He does have to be somewhat nerfed a little bit. So looking at him from a hero standpoint, his overall base stats are nothing really that great. His base attack, even at 6 stars, only about 1,000, compared to some other people's base attack to start with is closer to 2,000. He's obviously not a caster or anything like that. He's just a little warrior. So it's a little bit low for a warrior, but like I said, he starts out as a 1-star, so that's to be expected. His defense isn't that great either, about 1,000 to start with. His max health, though, is actually fairly decent. In this case here, with a couple of runes that I put on him, he's closing in on 10,000 max health, which before the combat revamp, 10,000 health was absurd and reserved for really only a few people like Furnace and a couple of others. His main claim to fame is his crit chance. Obviously, everybody knows that crit deals more damage, so it adds a % extra to damage, so the more that he crits, obviously the better he is. This obviously makes him very useful against water heroes and not so useful against fire heroes. Now, onto the actual buff itself. When we look at what has actually happened to Jabber, first off, he's got the Flesh Shredder trait, which basically boosts damage to non-armored, which is a lot of people out there. There's probably more non-armored than regular armored. This actually, in conjunction with crits and poison, actually works really well against Grognog early on. Once you hit max level and higher level PvP leagues, probably not so much. He also gets the Pack Fury, so 25% chance crit for everybody else. As far as beasts go, that applies to him as well. That's always good. This is another one, Pack Tactics, a chance to retaliate. This is also where he comes into play, especially when his epic comes into play, which is what we're going to look at today. Also very, very good. And then we have the Solaris boost, so Beastly Hunger. So when he's on a team with Solaris, he life steals 50% of damage dealt. So when he does a ton of damage, this is actually very helpful. Because this isn't just crit damage, this is everything. So when he deals damage, he life steals. So basically you're going to be torn between, do you want to make him somewhat survivable with max health, or do you want to try and pump up his attack as best as possible? Being a nature hero, he does have a sort of a limited rune loadout because he has both the water rune and the light rune. So his power increase is limited to the nature rune and the dark rune. So he's not as powerful as, say, like a fire rune would be, or a fire hero, or a dark hero would be. But certainly we've seen some strong heroes over the years. Abilities, we're not really going to focus on abilities. If you have Jabberjaw, you're going to know what his abilities are. So what we're looking at today is the epic. And so his epic, which I haven't unlocked just for the purpose of this video. In the grand scheme of things, I wish this would have been a little bit better than just a little steel glove here. Claws of the Lycan. I guess that's, I don't know, it looks kind of cool, but really if it's just claws, that's not really anything great. So here's Jabberjaw beforehand. We get a nice before picture. And here's our after picture. So looks like it added maybe a little bit of a vest to him, gave him a little scar on his face, turned his eyes green, and that's really about it. So in the grand scheme of things, as far as character models go, I probably would have liked a little bit something different. This one here to me is not different enough from his skin, his feral jaw skin. They look very similar, minus the chain, but they have the vest, they have the different eyes. Feral Jaw doesn't have a scar on his face, but they do look very, very similar. This is Feral Jaw. And let me take that off quick. And this is Jabberjaw. So very, very similar in my opinion, but let's break down the epic itself here. So this is a fairly passive one to start with. We have defense, health, and attack. What is going to happen with these here? This is going to be a 30-20-20 epic. His main boost going to defense, which is going to help him survive a little bit, and then the 20% boost to max health, which we saw on his stat sheet, is probably one of his best stats. So the goal here likely is to inflict poison and just try to survive. Now for a lower level, once you hit level 50 and get this epic, it's probably going to benefit you a lot more than it would a level 70 who's already loaded up with superior runes and playing around in Legend 1 League. The bonus to attack is obviously going to help for his lifesteal a little bit, but is sort of a tertiary stat if you ask me on this point here. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade him a little bit, and then I'll show you what his mechanic is. So the effect is the percent chance to deal 1.5 damage with 3 attacks on each enemy, and it fears all the enemies. Now, if this epic would have came out a year and a half ago when auto-run teams did not have the functionality to use their abilities, I would say that Jabberjaw's epic would have been probably top 5 of the ones that you would have wanted to get. Just because at that point, auto-run teams were basically just basic attacks, and this basic attack here, when it epics, it's going to hit every single opponent. And so at that time, there's only a few people that actually did that. This would have been a very rare one. Torchy was about the only one at the time. Bolvis hit multiple ones, and Shadowblade would hit multiple ones if he killed people, I think. But at the time, there were not many that hit everybody. So a year and a half ago, this would have been an excellent epic. Right now, you're really just getting this epic for the stat bonuses. It's probably not going to be a mainstay as far as usage. But let's go ahead and upgrade this a little bit here. I'm just going to pick a couple. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to run through and do Savage Grove again. So I'll keep the 15% chance here, and then what I'll do is I'll just show you what this actually looks like when it procs then. So is this going to be a useful mechanic in PvP? My gut says the PvP for Jabberjaw is not going to be very helpful. He's obviously more useful at lower levels when you can farm some tokens and maybe take him in as a PvP attacker against a water-based team. PvP defense, he's easily killed any way you spin it in any league at any level, even with his health increase. So if he's on an all-beast team and he gets some health buffs, he's a little bit survivable. But with the teams that people are taking into PvP, he's not going to last anyway. So trying to get his epic attack to trigger in PvP is likely not going to be a very positive outcome. You'll have it as a better chance as a PvP attacker. Personally, Jabber is not one of my go-to people for PvP attacks, just because his lack of usage. If you want to bring him in there and try and use him against Grognog, you certainly can. But any Grognog team is likely going to have Grognog going first. It's going to slow him down. He's going to get hit by all of their attackers anyways. So PvP defense, he's going to run through his entire spectrum of abilities first, so he's going to do all 3 of those before he starts doing basic attacks, with the exception of the retaliation from pack tactics, which will occasionally happen. Personally, I don't think he's going to be a very successful person on your PvP defense. I would tend to avoid him on that front, which basically leaves him for PvE dungeons and for those who maybe don't have a very well-developed roster. If you just got to level 50 and you have a very limited roster, maybe this would help you, but I would focus on other heroes before you pour a ton of effort into him. Unless you are really farming tokens at level 1 through 49 and you have him 6-starred, then he might be a saving grace for very low-end PvP at level 50. With that said, I'll go ahead and I'll show you what the proc mechanic is. We're going to do this in Permafrost Ice Cavern, which is a boss mode dungeon. I will show you his strength here as far as both with runes and without runes, so you can determine yourself if you want to use him in any of your PvP or PvE auto-run dungeons. For my cases here, I do have some basic runes on him, nothing super great. I have a couple of life runes, power runes, a little bit of damage reduction, and a little bit of attack. So a little bit of everything, but these are just sort of leftover runes. I'll show you the mechanic with this one first, and then I'll strip his runes off, and you can see what it looks like after that. This first attack here is with runes on. So you can see he does basically the same amount of damage as normal. Makes quick work of that room. And then we get a follow-up attack here also, room clearing. Attack is with Jabber at his weakest. He has no runes, but he's still 6-starred. Still has enough to clear out people that do not have any armor, so that's pretty impressive. When we look at a boss fight here, he's able to take out the lesser of the two because of the lack of damage, but the giant cube's got a little bit more health. Any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, we will see you again next time. Thanks. Thank you so much for watching this video and supporting my channel. If you like this video, please show your continued support by hitting that like button, and be sure to check out both my YouTube channels for new content all the time. And always remember, peace is a lie, there's only passion. We'll see you next time.